Well, we'll both do that then.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I see what happened now.
I would say though,
if we want to survive in this world today, and every day we've got to walk on. If we want to survive in this world today, and every day we've got to walk on. If we want to survive in this world, and every day we've got to work on. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Wreaths drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. Ooh, and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean. Don't you know, butterflies all having fun. They know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done. That's what I mean. And this old world is a new world and a bold world for me.
So you speak to me in sadness at the coming of the winter. The fear that is within you, it seems to never end, and the dreams that have escaped you, and the hope that you've forgotten. And you tell me that you need me now, wanna be my friend, and you wonder where we're going, where's the rhyme, where's the reason, and it's you cannot accept it, and it's here we meet again to see the wisdom of the children. And the graceful way of flowers in the wind. For the children and the flowers are my sisters and my brothers. Their laughter and their loveliness would clear a cloudy day, like the music of the mountains and the colors of the rainbow. They're a promise of the future and a blessing for today. Though the city starts to crumble and the towers fall around us, the sun is slowly fading and it's colder than the sea. It is written from the desert to the mountains, they shall lead us by the hand and by the heart, and they will comfort you and me. In their innocence and trusting, they will teach us to be free. For the children and the flowers are my sisters and my brothers. Their laughter and their loveliness would clear a cloudy day, and the song that I am singing is a prayer for non-believers. Come and stand beside us, we can find a better way.
I've been staring at the edge of the water long as I can remember, never really knowing why. I wish I could be the perfect daughter, but I come back to the water no matter how hard I try. Every turn I take, every trail I track, every path I make, every road leads back to the place I know where I cannot go, where I long to be. See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, one day I'll know. If I go, there's just no telling how far I'll go. I know everybody on this island seems so happy on this island. Everything is by design. I know everybody on this island has a role on this island, so maybe I can roll with mine. I can lead with pride, I can make us strong. I'll be satisfied if I play along, but the voice inside sings a different song. What is wrong with me? See the light as it shines on the sea, it's blinding, but no one knows how deep it goes, and it seems
but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. No, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have kissed honey lips, I felt the healing fingertips, it burned like fire. It's burning desire. I have spoken the tongue of angels. I have held the hand of the devil. It was warm in the night. It's cold as a storm. But I still down the wooded track, down the quiet road to the night lake. The night is cool and clear, and the moon shines upon our boat, gliding in the dark of the night lake. I know this lake. I know the jeweled dragonfly. I know where the sunfish nest, where the water lilies grow. I know this lake. The ripples fading into black. I know where the hawk tree stands, where the blue crane used to fish. I know this lake, where all the hidden branches lie. I know where it gets so deep, how it mirrors the sky. If I were all alone, my dog and I would slide into the water, turn the night lake better. Turn the night lake better. It remains a mystery tonight, but I'll come back tomorrow. 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 Even if a day feels too long, if you feel like you can't wait another one, you've slowly given up on everything, love is gonna find you again. Love is gonna find you, you better be ready then. You've been kneeling in the dark for far too long. You've been waiting for that spark, but it hasn't come. Well, I'm calling to you, please get off the floor. A good heart is gonna find you again. A good heart is gonna find you, just be ready then. Tethered to a bird of sorrow, a voice that's buried in the hollow. You've given over to self-deceiving, prostrate bowed but not believing. You squandered more than you can borrow. You bet your joys on all tomorrow, for the hope of some returning, while everything around you's burning. Come on, we gotta get out of this mess we made. Still, for all our talk, we're both so afraid. Will we leave this up to chance like we do everything? Love is gonna find you again. Love is gonna find you, you gotta be ready then. Tethered to a bird of sorrow, a voice that's buried in the hollow. You've given over to self-deceiving, prostrate bowed but not believing. You squandered more than you can borrow. You bet your joys on all tomorrow, for the hope of some returning, when everything around you's burning. But I'm not leaving here. I'm not leaving here. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving you here. I'm not leaving. Hanging on. 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 With the faithful. With the faithful. What will come? Hanging on. With the faithful. With the faithful.
Good morning from here at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Silver Spring. My name is Bruce McConaughey. I'm today's worship associate. My pronouns are he, him, and his. This morning, our Director of Spiritual Growth, Dr. Laura Solomon, is preaching about Hanukkah for those gathered here with me in the sanctuary and virtually on Zoom. Reverend Kristen Schmidt, our minister, is outside today with our children for religious education. However you are joining us today, I'm so glad you're here. Those present in body should be sure to wear our masks correctly over both nose and mouth, stay distanced from people who are not in our household, and please use the restrooms downstairs, one person or household at a time. We also continue to ask that the congregation hum rather than sing to lower the risk of viral transmission. Thank you all for doing what we can to keep one another safe and well. Finally, please check your cell phones to make sure they are turned off. If you're joining UUCSS today for the first time, welcome to our congregation. Dorothy Hale is today's welcoming captain, and you can contact her in the Zoom chat if you're watching from home. Dorothy will also be, there she is in the back of the sanctuary. Dorothy will also be available to answer our questions or your questions after the service. The ministry of welcome is one shared by all of us here at UUCSS, whether you're here virtually or in person. If you're new, I encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat or after today's service to others in the congregation. While some of our members grew up in the church, many of us have had the experience of being first-time visitors ourselves. So if you see someone you don't recognize or know well, please say hello. Each Sunday, we encourage those tuning in on Zoom to light their own chalice or candle to help us to kindle the flame of community. If you're at home and don't have anything nearby, I invite you to go and get something to light now. Let's also take a moment to express our gratitude to everyone who has participated and contributed to today's service. Please join me in the words on your screen as we light our chalices and reaffirm our congregational commitment. May this light warm our hearts with love and caring and guide us in the ways of truth. As we gather here for worship, we pledge ourselves to the endless search for truth, to the right of each to believe as mind, heart, and conscience dictate, to accept the responsibilities this freedom commands, and to implement our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. May it be so.
What we are and what we As Unitarian Universalists, we draw our faith from many sources. Those among us who are Christian are currently in a time of anticipation, a time of waiting known as Advent. On the 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas, we are lighting an Advent wreath as a symbol of hope, peace, joy, and love coming into the world. Last week, we lit the first candle for hope. Today, we'll relight the candle of hope and we'll add a candle for peace. We are lucky to have Jeffrey to lead us in the words for today's lighting of the Advent wreath.
We prepare for a new era of justice and reconciliation, free from violence and coercion. Peace is possible. We give thanks for those who witness for a world made whole, with all her people one. We light the candles for peace and hope.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Our opening words this morning come from Gwen Matthews. As December opens before us, we welcome in the gift of reflection. We turn toward our holiday celebrations and search for common threads of meaning. We begin with Yule, the winter solstice, and we are invited to explore duality, cycles, and seasons, and to witness the Holly King being overcome by the Oak King. Yule reminds us that we all partake in the miracle of renewal. Hanukkah, the festival of lights, commemorates a time of miracles when the faith of the Jewish people sustained them to reclaim their holy temple and keep the light of the menorah burning for 8 days. Christmas, the celebration of Jesus' humble birth in a manger, offers us to revisit the miracle of birth and the desire to find saviors to heal the scars of humanity. Here in our church, you are just as much a holiday miracle as the turning of the earth, as persistence and dedication to a faith, as the creation of each new life. We see the love you give to others, the space you create to hold one another's joys and sorrows, and the generosity and spirit you entrust to this community. You are the holiday miracle. This community is one of miracle makers. Let's turn our attention to our wonderful UUCSS klezmer ensemble. Hanukkah celebrations begin at sundown each day when Jews light their menorahs to remember the victory of the Maccabees and commemorate the miracle of the oil burning in the temple for 8 days. Hanukkah means dedication. This originally came from the rededication of the temple following its Greek occupation. Today, this holiday reminds Jews to dedicate themselves to Jewish tradition and culture so it may be passed down on to the next generation. Today, Isabella and Jackson Hampton will share their family's tradition as Jewish Unitarian Universalists. As they light our menorah, I am grateful for their dedication to their Jewish heritage and their willingness to share this tradition with us this morning. Jackson and Isabella, can you come up? Do you want me to say what? Okay, ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Thank you so much. Good job. Are we fighting with the candle? Oh, no. Let's see what we can do. Menorah is fixed. You can go have a seat. Thank you, Jackson and Isabella. I'm going to invite you into a time for all ages this morning, and I'm going to share a story about Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a holiday that happens around November or December each year. The exact time of the celebration is different because its dates are determined by the Jewish calendar. People who are Jewish, including me and some other people and kids here in our congregation, celebrate Hanukkah to remember the history and culture of our ancestors. This story is adapted from a book called A Great Miracle Happened Here, a Hanukkah story by Carla Kuskin with illustrations by Robert Andrew Parker. Long ago, there was a king named Antiochus who was very powerful. Antiochus ruled many lands, and one of those lands was the land of Israel. Because the king ruled over many lands, he ruled many different peoples. They dressed in different ways, spoke different languages, and followed different customs. When they prayed to different gods. But the king did not care about the different ways and wishes of his people. He followed Greek ways, so he made laws that said everyone he ruled must follow Greek customs and pray in Greek temples to Greek gods. The troops of Antiochus marched into the beautiful temple the Jews had built in Jerusalem. They destroyed the holy scrolls and books and took the temple's treasures. Many people were very frightened, so they obeyed the new laws. Not far from Jerusalem, there was a Jewish man named Mattathias. Mattathias refused to follow the king's laws. He was so angry that he killed a Jewish man who did obey the soldiers and then he killed a soldier. Even though Mattathias was angry at the terrible laws, he was wrong to kill people. Killing does not change laws. It just leads to more killing. Mattathias called out that anyone who believed as he did should follow him. He knew that if he did not run away, he would be killed. Many people who also hated the laws also left their homes and followed him. Mattathias was very old, but his son, Judah Maccabee, continued leading the Jewish warriors who were resisting Antiochus's laws. The Jewish warriors called themselves the Maccabees. After many battles, the Maccabees took back their beautiful temple in Jerusalem. But when they got inside, they found that everything had been destroyed. So they set to work, cleaning and making it beautiful again. They rededicated their temple to make it feel like a holy place once more. As long as the Jewish people can remember, it has been very important to always have a flame called the Ner Tamid, or the eternal flame, burning in the temple. When the Maccabees looked for oil to relight the flames, they found only a tiny bit that they could use. There was only enough oil for 1 day, so the Maccabees were very worried. They were sure it would go out before they could get new oil. But amazingly, the tiny bit of oil lasted for 8 days, and the flame kept burning. Today, those of us who are Jewish remember this piece of our history by lighting a menorah, like we did this morning, for 8 days, to remember that oil that lasted for 8 days, even though there was only enough for one. We also celebrate by eating potato latkes and playing dreidel, a game with a top that has 4 sides. The dreidel has 4 Hebrew letters, one on each side, that mean a great miracle happened there. This helps us to remember the miracle that happened in Israel a long time ago. I invite you now to take a breath and settle in for a moment of sharing our joys and sorrows together. This morning, I will share joys and sorrows that people have sent in to be shared. Let us prepare our hearts to hear these joys and sorrows together. Today, we have a concern from Phyllis Ryder, whose former student, Olivia Upham, is a middle school teacher in the Oxford, Michigan school system. Her mother is an elementary school teacher, and her brother is in the high school. She wrote to Phyllis about her devastation and the devastation everyone feels, the way she was trying to keep the kids calm, and she didn't know where her brother was. He is okay. We keep Phyllis, Olivia, her families, and all the families impacted in our hearts. This morning, we also hold tenderly in our hearts Beverly Schnetzler and her family as they mourn the death of her daughter-in-law, Ann Ackerman. Ann died very early this morning of breast cancer. May Beverly and all who loved Anne feel the support of this community during this very sad time. Friends, there is so much that we are feeling and carrying during these times. I invite you now into a moment of stillness. Let us pause. Breathe in and out. Notice what there is to notice in your body. places of tension and of ease, joy and sadness, anxiety, love, stillness. Just notice and pause. The shorter days and longer nights remind us to take time in this stillness, to look for the bits of light that still shine even in the darkness. With all of these lights lit before us this morning, let us take a breath. Relax your jaw. Release your shoulders. Unclench our toes. We hold one another in this community in our love and care. We particularly hold the memory of Elizabeth Walgren close today as we mourn her death and hold her loved ones close in our hearts. We breathe in love, and we breathe out love. We breathe in peace, and we breathe out peace. We hold each other close in this moment and throughout the week. We know the work of love and justice continues, and so we commit and recommit ourselves to this work. And in this moment, we take a breath. We allow ourselves to pause, to be here in these good bodies that have brought us through this week, this month, this year, and our lives. Amen. I believe we should have some music now. We just prayed. We can pray again, but I think we're good. Thank you so much.
The reading this morning is a poem called Hanukkah by the Reverend Lynn Ungar. Come down from the hills, declare the fighting done. Be bold, declare victory. Even when the temple is wrecked and the tyrants have not retreated, only coiled back like a snake, prepared to strike again. Come down. Try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestic faith. The pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here. Come down and settle. Unlearn the years of hiding. Light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen marrow. Set lamps in the window. Declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would take a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. I say to you, you are the stuff from which such miracles are made.
Thank you, Bruce. Come down from the hills, Reverend Unger writes. Come down and settle. Come down and settle. It's December. And as much as December is a time of wonder and magic and mystery, as much as December is a time of family and love, December can also be a time of pressure and expectations. It can also be a time of complicated family gatherings and stressful planning and budgeting, and there is never enough time, and even still, this poem reminds us, come down. Come down and settle. And friends, it's not just December. It's December in 2021. There is so much implied in that statement about where we are politically and environmentally and in terms of the pandemic. It is December in 2021, and this week we saw the Supreme Court attempting to overturn the women's access to the necessary health care of abortion. This week, we learned more about the Omicron variant of COVID-19. This week, we heard more about yet another school shooting, this time in Michigan. It is December in 2021. Come down and settle. I love that we have so many candles burning here this morning. Our chalice, the symbol of our faith, our Advent wreath with its candles of hope and peace, our menorah with its candles of dedication, of history and commitment to tradition and resistance. Our joys and sorrows, our individual lights of hope, of fear, of despair, of love, still shedding light in the darkness. This is how we make it through this time. We kindle these lights just as people have always done. We gather in community just as we have always done, even though we may gather in new virtual ways. We are here, in spite of everything, kindling these lights, doing what humans do. Which is to say, worrying, maybe, and doing this life imperfectly, and being together imperfectly, and loving one another imperfectly, and feeling unsure of who we are, or why we are here, or what we are doing, or what the whole purpose of this life thing is, and yet here we are. It would take a miracle, Reverend Unger writes, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. Come down from the hills. Come down and settle. I love the story of Hanukkah. In recent years, I have grown to feel more connected to my Jewish heritage, feeling pulled, particularly on holidays, to dedicate and rededicate myself to the resilience and story of a people whose DNA I carry. This year, I've been thinking particularly about the fact that Hanukkah is not just a story of light in the darkness, it's also a story of cultural genocide and forced assimilation. It's a story about infighting amongst Jewish sects. These stories, much like our present, are never clean, are they? The story of Hanukkah is not just about light where there was none. It's about dedication and rededication and holding on to history and covenant. As we heard in the Time for All Ages, the flame that went out in the temple wasn't just any flame. It was the Ner Tamid, the eternal flame that reminds us of God's abiding love and imminent presence. But that light also reminds us of a commitment, a covenant to be a light unto the nations. The Ner Tamid is the light that reminds us to be the light in the world. It reminds us that we are that which is holy, and with it, we dedicate ourselves to being a force of love that shines eternally. In the book of Isaiah, God says, "I have called you in righteousness. I have taken you by the hand and kept you. I have given you as a covenant to the people, a light to the nations, to open the eyes that are blind, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, from the prison, those who sit in darkness." Now, if we can forgive the authors of Isaiah for their ableist language there, it was a different time. What I hear there is a call for us to live our lives justly, as forces of not just love, but liberation. This passage, like most passages in the Bible, can be and has been interpreted in a number of ways, both for good and for ill. But what I hear in this passage is God saying, I am asking you to live a life of love and justice and to use that love to free others. And the Jews lit a lamp, the Ner Tamid, so each day when they came to the temple, they remembered, we are called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love. That is the light that went out in the temple, the light which held that reminder, not just of God, but of who we are and who we want to be in the world. And when that light was destroyed, when their temple, their holy space was destroyed, when they were traumatized and afraid and everything was in ruins, do you know what they did? They relit that lamp. We are called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love, they reminded themselves. The Jews were under no illusions. There was only enough oil for one more day. They sent someone to go get more oil, but in the meantime, they lit the lamp, knowing it would burn out again before he got back. They lit it anyway, to remind themselves what they are called to do. We are called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love. And the lamp stayed lit. And each day the Jews thought, surely this is the last day. Surely the lamp will burn out any moment now. But the lamp stayed lit. And the lamp stayed lit. And for 8 days, until that person came back with more oil, it stayed lit. The story we tell our children is that the miracle was that the lamp burned for 8 days. The story we tell is often that the miracle happened because the Jews rededicated the temple to God after it had been desecrated. But for me, the miracle isn't really about the oil lasting for 8 days. The miracle didn't happen to reward the Jews for their proper religiosity. The miracle was that the Jews had been living a life of persecution and exile, of war and fighting. Their most holy place was ruined. If we think December 2021 feels bleak, let me tell you, I don't think the month of Kislev in 165 BCE was a walk in the park either. And yet they lit the Ner Tamid with no expectation that it would continue to burn. We are called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love, they were saying. We are still going to be loud and public and unafraid. We are still going to fulfill our promise of how to live our lives. See, the miracle wasn't that the oil burned for 8 days. Because if the oil had burned for 5 days or for 3 days or for 1 day, it still would have been a miracle. If there was no oil, the fact that the Ner Tamid was not destroyed would have been a miracle. And if the Ner Tamid had been destroyed, if the Jews had looked around, there would have been something else that would have led them to recommit and rededicate themselves to what mattered. And that, too, would have been a miracle. The miracle was never the oil. The miracle was always in the people who recommitted themselves to living faithful, resilient, liberatory lives in spite of everything. In spite of everything. So here we are in December 2021, and we are still called, are we not? We are still called to live lives of justice, liberation, and love, and we are called to dedicate ourselves to that kind of living. What would it look like to rededicate ourselves this holiday season to lives that are faithful, that is full of faith, which is to say, full of a belief that perhaps the miracle is already here? Perhaps the miracle is the commitment, the human drive to get up and do the things we must do now. Perhaps the liberation is in the living that happens in spite of everything. The justice and freedom happens because we continue, because we light the lamp even when we have no expectation that it will stay lit. We light it anyway because it fulfills our promise of who we are in the world. Here we are in December 2021 with a new COVID-19 variant, with fears of new legislation restricting women's right to autonomy and life, with all the grief and loss and fear we hold. How do we continue to live as though the miracle is here, even amidst the 2021-ness of it all? We dedicate and rededicate ourselves to being the people we are called to be, which is to say, we dedicate and rededicate ourselves to love. It would take a miracle to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear, the poet writes. I say you are the stuff of which such miracles are made. May it be so, and may we make it so. Amen.
John Saxon reminds us that, quote, "This religious community exists by its mission as a fire exists by burning. But a fire cannot burn without fuel, and it is the time, the energy, the imagination, the vision, the creativity, the compassion, the love, and the financial support of the members and friends of this community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming, inclusive, and diverse liberal religious community with the potential to transform lives and serve the world. Your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of this community, is what fuels this community and its mission. And without your support, the flame of justice, community, and love cannot burn brightly to warm ourselves and be a beacon in a world threatened by division and fear. There are many ways you can make your financial gift today. The first is by downloading the Vanco mobile faith engagement app from Vanco to set up your account. For those who have been making offerings using the Give Plus mobile app, please know that the old app is retired. Please follow the instructions on the screen to download the new Vanco mobile faith engagement app and select UUCSS in order to give. The second way to give is by using your phone to text a message to 833-880-1363. And if the app or texting just don't work for you, the third way is to give by mailing a check directly to the church. If you're here in the sanctuary, feel free to drop your offering into one of the plates as it is passed through the congregation during the music. We give thanks for every gift given today, for the opportunity to practice generosity together, and for the ways our gifts are more powerful together than they are apart. The offering will now be given and received.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Ledor vador nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation, Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way. And the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. L'dor vador nagid God lecha. L'dor vador, we protect this chain. L'dor, from generation to generation. L'dor vador, these lips will praise your name. L'dor vador nagid God lecha. L'dor vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation. L'dor vador, these lips will praise your name.
Thank you so much, Jim, and all of our musicians. That was beautiful. We bless our offering now with these words. May the gifts we have given fuel the flame of our commitment, empower us to serve out our mission, and give the life we share the shape of truth, love, and justice.
Good morning. My name is Robin Morlasky, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Our church is not only the organization that puts together these services, we're a vibrant community of volunteers and staff, a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and a part of the Global UU denomination. Visitors are welcome to join us for virtual coffee hour after the service today to learn more. Just stay right where you are in front of your Zoom screen or come back after you grab some coffee. It will be on the same link as this service. We look forward to learning more about you. Today, there are two announcements. It's auction time. Woohoo! You may submit your ideas of auction donations starting today. Look in the Uniter or in this week's All Church email to see the URL, the web link for donating your item. Please complete a separate donation form for each item or event and have a photo or image ready to upload. If you would like a refresher on how to use the online system, we will have a short training in a breakout Zoom room following the service next Sunday, December 12th. Thank you. We look forward to seeing what everyone comes up with. Blue Christmas. For those among us who are coping with pain or loss, the holiday season can feel anything but merry and bright. If you would appreciate some time and space to name your grief and seek comfort with other UUs, mark your calendars for Sunday, December 19th at 7 o'clock. In the evening, Reverend Kristen and clergy from the Community Church of New York, Greenville UU Fellowship in South Carolina, and the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood, New York, will be offering a service called Bluest Night with ASL interpretation provided. All are welcome. The link to the service will be included in the next several future all-church emails. Thank you so much.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their life didn't die. Light one candle for the the pain they endured when the right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peace taker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we needed to never become our own foes. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain that we learned long ago. Light one candle for all we believe that anger will tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together for peace and the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out. It lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. What is the memory that's valued so highly? We keep it alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who have died when we cry out they've not died in vain? Have we come this far, always believing that justice would somehow prevail? And this is the burden, and this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out. Don't let the light go out. Don't let the light go out. Don't let the light go out.
Please join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.
As we kindle the lights in this season of darkness, may we rededicate ourselves to the miracle of resistance in the face of oppression, the miracle of bravery in the face of fear, the miracle of hope in the face of despair, the miracle of trust in the face of anxiety, the miracle of faith in the face of cynicism. On this day and in all the days to come, may we dedicate and rededicate ourselves to love. Thank you.